And Poskowski introduce our keynote speaker.
Okay, great. It's my pleasure this morning, or afternoon, to introduce my friend and colleague, Rod White. He is married and father of 2 with 3 grandchildren. Rod and his wife, Dreamer, will celebrate their 37th wedding anniversary this July. He gets a hand just for that.
She gets a hand for that.
Yeah, she gets a hand as well. In his spare time, Rod loves golfing and running. He's competed in 4 half-marathon races and is always looking forward to the next race. He's been a member of Toastmasters International for the past 3 years and currently holds the position of Division and Governor. Rod is the owner of R.W. & Associates, where he coaches and mentors individuals and small businesses to achieve their goals. He's also an author and keynote speaker, and today we have the pleasure of Rod speaking to us about the little things in public speaking that allow us to connect with our audiences through communication, commitment, and camaraderie. Please help me welcome author of The Power of Networking, Rod White.
Hyatt, how long would you allow me to stand up here struggling before you try to encourage me? Not long, you dinged me. Or how long would you wait and say, you know what, I want my $3 back, I'm out of here. So many times in public speaking, once we get that gig where we're being paid and sought after to speak, we tend to stop growing. So I want to talk to you today about the little things that will continue to help us connect with our audience. And those little things surround, of course, communication, commitment to the audience, as well as camaraderie, or building relationships with your audience. I had the pleasure of listening to an inspirational speaker, a professional speaker. He was the keynote. And I'm telling you, he took to the lectern, and the first word out of his mouth was, thank you for having me. I thought to myself, I was waiting to learn because he was a professional. He's spoken in front of 600 audiences, and the very first word was, Now, mind you, I'm a Toastmaster, so we tend to pay attention to those types of things. This gentleman went on in his speech and said 63 times in 20 minutes. 63 times in 20 minutes. He was an inspirational speaker, all right. He inspired me to go back home and look up and in the dictionary. And when I did that, yes, those are words. When I did that, the definition of and is total confusion and hesitancy. When we use the words and it means that we're confused. We're hesitant about getting to our next point. In Toastmasters, Jan, we call those filler words.
Right.
I just paid $150 to hear a speaker who is confused and hesitant with his message. All is not lost. All of us have had that type of issue from time to time. However, we are good at our message. We know what we're talking about when we get to the meat. And I recall when I listened to this gentleman with the uhs and ahs, he didn't use them at the meat of his subject. He used them at the beginning, and after he was done with why we came, he tended to use and again. Still, that type of language distracts from the message. I found myself listening, let me put it this way, I taught my children, your behavior, what you do is just as important, if not more so, than what you say. What you do speaks so loudly that I can't hear a word that you're saying. And as speakers, we must mind the little things that distract from our audience. What I want to do is talk to you and help you with some of the little things that I've learned along the way. One of the things that I think about constantly is, as speakers, what is our responsibility? What is our commitment to an audience? There is the bonsai tree, and then there's the mighty oak tree. Both of them start from little seeds, little seedlings, but the bonsai tree has its growth stunted, intentionally for the beauty of it all, but it has its growth stunted. We prune the roots, but the mighty oak, it grows and it grows and it grows. I believe in some circles they refer to it as the majestic oak. I want people to think of my speaking in terms of that majestic oak. I want them to think that Rod White puts everything that he has into the presentation, because Rod White believes he has an obligation to the audience to give them what they came for. Once he's done, that speech we all give, 3 of them, the speech we prepared, the speech we gave, and the speech we give on the way home, that speech on the way home is the one I use to tell me what else do I need to learn, how else do I need to grow in order to help my audiences. There are some things that I learned last year, and I want to share with you. Time won't permit me to share everything. This particular seminar I'm going to tell you about covered 2 days, and it's called the Storyteller's Theater. The Storyteller's Theater was founded by Doug Stevenson, and I encourage you all right now to write that name down, Doug Stevenson, the Storyteller's Theater. He gave us tons of information, but I'll share just a couple with you today. He taught us, among all things in the world, how to dance. Well, what do you mean he taught you how to dance? I thought it was a speaking course. It was. Here is what you see from many, many speakers. I notice everybody's eyes shifted, and the speaker will walk over to the other side of the room and he's delivering the message, and they may be looking over here and not paying any attention to the audience, but they're nervous. It's that nervous energy. It's pacing. They don't even realize sometimes that they're pacing. So he invented what he calls the 2-step, not the Texas 2-step, but the 2-step. And I believe this will go a long way in helping you to engage with your audience. The 2-step is simple. Instead of pacing all over the whole floor, you simply take 1 step to the right, bring the left foot over, there's 2 steps. Now, I have eye contact with you, and I'm going to talk to you about proper techniques, Jeff, that you can use to communicate with your audience. Guess what? I'm not talking to everybody else, but the energy in the room, everybody's engaged in our conversation. You're giving me affirmative, they're listening saying, well, how come he didn't pick me? More than likely they're saying, I'm sure glad he didn't pick me. So now, 2 steps. 1, back to the center of the room. I have everyone's attention. 2-step, I'm going to change, and I'm going to say, Jan, you're doing a mighty fine job with the camera, thank you very much. And we engage. It's the eye contact is automatic. And for those of you that have heard about imagining your audience naked to help you with your nervousness, forget that. Learn how to talk to one person. And by talking to one, you're talking to many. That's just one of the lessons that he taught us. It's the little things. Don't say and it's not necessary. Prepare, and you won't have to. Use something basic as a 2-step so you don't distract your audience and make them follow you all over the room. Another thing that he taught us, and if time permits, at the end of this talk, I'll even give you an example. But he talked about the power of storytelling. Now, many of you know that already. You understand that if you tell a story, it's going to be fantastic. I actually went to an event, and between segments, in order to get everyone's attention, instead of clapping like we do in Toastmasters or ringing a bell, you know, sometimes they have the ladies going around ding, dong, ding. Instead of doing all that, the facilitator simply said, once upon a time, there was a young lady that worked at Egg and I, and she brought in the tray of iced tea for everyone to drink. Now, it didn't matter what the story was about. He captured everyone's attention just by telling a story. So don't ever miss the power of storytelling. Now, he did something different. He being Doug Stevens. He said to us, most speakers tell stories in two-dimensional form. When I heard him say that, what does he mean? He said you have to learn how to tell stories in 3 dimensions. He taught us that we should go into and out of the story. What does that mean? When I'm out of the story, I'm talking to you as the audience and I'm saying things like, here is the setup. This is what happened. I want you to follow this story. Once upon a time, when I was 10 years old, this is what happened. So now I'm out of the story and I'm telling you what to expect. And then I go into the story and you can actually, and you become one of the characters. If you're really good at it, after this character is done responding, you become the other character. That is in the story. Your story just became 3-dimensional and you really drew your audience in. And as I said, if I have time after we're done, I'll give you an example of one of the stories that I used and put in 3-dimensional form. The third thing I want to talk to you about is Toastmasters. Raise your hand if you're a Toastmaster already. We have 3 Toastmasters in the room, aspiring Toastmasters. I know, Tammy, you said you were going to join. I see Emily back there.
I did it when I was young.
No, it doesn't count anymore. If you want to learn the little things about public speaking, if you want to refresh yourself even on things that you know better, you used to do, but you want to do again, go to Toastmasters. You can visit a Toastmaster club as often as you'd like without joining, and you'll pick up some things. But of course, you won't fully pick up the value unless you join. You get the material, you follow the assignments, you learn all the tricks of the trade, you get better because you owe it to your audience. Bottom line is we all have 2 choices. We can either be that bonsai tree and stunt our growth intentionally by thinking we've arrived. I'm already a public speaker. I get paid for it. Why should I care about development? Or the second choice is we can be that mighty oak and make sure that we continue to grow and add to our repertoire. With that, before I close, do I have time? I want to share with you a story that I call belief, simply belief. And I'm going to attempt to do this in 3 dimensions. When I was about 10 years old, I was just learning how to swim. And when I say just learning how to swim, the only thing I knew how to do was to glide the width of the pool. Jump in, just go until I reached the other side. But I was excited about my ability to glide the width of the pool. There came a Saturday afternoon where I could go to the YMCA with my older cousin. He was about 15 years old, I'm 10. I loved hanging out with him because he was older. So we go to the Y. Now mind you, at the Y, you can't just go swimming and jump in. The sessions start and everybody gets in the pool at the same time on the mark of the lifeguard instructor. Okay, gentlemen, we're about ready to start this session. I hope that you all have a lot of fun. Do not jump in the pool until I give you the signal. We're all lined up inside the pool. I'm ready. I can do this. I can glide. I know I can glide. I can make it to the other side of this pool. On your mark. Get set. This is a terrible whistle. I'm gliding. I'm gliding. I'm gliding. I'm gonna make it. I'm smiling. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm glad. Uh-oh. I stopped gliding. Now, Mind you, coming out of the story, mind you, I watched a lot of cartoons when I was a kid. And most of the cartoons, when they would depict someone drowning, you knew if you went down the third time, you were a goner. So there I go down. You know, help me, help me. I go down. Somebody help me, help me. I think I'm gonna die. I'm gonna drown. Help me, help me. So finally, third time, I felt a hand. Pushed me, I turned around. There's nobody there. But what I found out is that I was this far from the edge of the pool. What I didn't tell you is that when I jumped into that pool, I jumped into 10 feet of water. I truly thought that I was going to die that day. I turned around and couldn't see anyone there. I decided, I understood at that precise moment that I was saved by the hand of God. I was baptized that day in the pool, 10 feet of water, by the hand of God. Here today, I can tell you right now, if I had it to do all over again, I would have at least learned how to tread water before I jumped into 10 foot of water. But the whole purpose is I could tell just by looking in your eyes that you were following the story. The story was a little bit more interesting if I had just stood here and said, I almost drowned when I was 10 years old. So add story to your message. Make it a three-dimensional story. Continue growing. One thing you can do is go online, find Doug Stevenson in the Storytellers Theater. If you can't go to Denver, Colorado, you will at least be able to buy some of his things online. Second thing you need to do is go to a Toastmasters meeting. Preferably one in Division M, that's my division. And the third thing that you can do is buy my book, The Power of Networking. And the reason I say that is I have a section in there talking about the benefits of Toastmasters, but there's also other tidbits of information that will help you as you go on your journey of growth in public speaking. With that, I say thank you, sir, and thank all of you. I appreciate it.